Now I'm going to show you maybe some, what you say, more obscure features of the scripture tracer. Things which I explain in the help file, but which were probably more easier to show you in actual demo. The first thing is what we call the zoom factor. If you go up here to the profile settings, look at profile preferences, you'll see something called zoom factor. Let me just illustrate what that is. Let's do this query for banner, and if you hold down control and rotate the mouse wheel, you get different sizes of text, and this works for the same for any browser. You can do this for any web page. Then when you redisplay the text, it always comes back to the same size, and that size is due to the zoom factor being set. You can change this. Say you like just a one. The range is generally like 0.5 to 1.5. 1.0 is normal. This is a little small for me, so I prefer the 1.5. But you could, if you keep it at 1, and I think the program when it installs it sets a default of 1. You can change it, but then when you redisplay the page, it comes back to the same old setting again. So I put in a permanent way to change this. To always get the setting that you like personally. This is my favorite at 1.5. Okay, there's other features we can do. There's something called helpful. There's a window here called helpful links or useful tables. Okay, this first table is actually all the words which are used in the database and their frequency. You can see that Lord is used the most, and you can sort these based on alphabetically, or you can sort those based on frequency, or you can set them based on Soundex. And Soundex is a system is finding words that sound alike. Like we have Zoramite, and Zoramites, which are very similar. You can look up any word you want and find it in the database and get its Soundex. Okay, now abbreviations is in the database we have unique abbreviations for each book, so you can use these to filter your text, your searches, and you just double click on the abbreviation and it will add it to your filter or to your search depending on which one you click on. These will save you a little time if helpful, but I hardly use them because I've got these memorized, O-T, N-T, and I explain in the help file that I could have just used the OT for abbreviation, but there's a lot of words with OT, and if you say I want to search for OT or filter for OT, you get a lot of words, and it's very confusing. So the database needs to know Old Testament from OT, so that's why we have this special abbreviation. Now here's another table which is more or less useful. It's called history. This has got every single query that you've made, and it's saved. And what you can do is you double click on the, let's see, let's clear out the search. You can double click on a query and it will populate the fields with the search and filter fields with the contents of the query. It remembers these. Here's the. Let's clear this out just to show you easier. Okay, like there was what whithersoever was the search, and Nephi was the filter. And it remembers that. These queries are saved in a folder, and you can get to the folder very easily by saying open results folder. And these are all the queries which are saved. You can delete these anytime you want. There's nothing magical about these. You can always rerun the query. They're only saved in case you want to use them for some purpose, for reference or whatever. But I just keep them because I use them for demos and stuff. Let's see, what else can you do? Okay, there are a new instance. Like, say you want a new copy of the program to run. Here you've got 2 copies of the program running, and so you can do multiple searches. If you want to close the one copy, just do Alt-X and it's closed. Another feature is when you're in the display, there's a lot of extra information going on here. And if you just want to see your scriptures, if you don't want to see the external links, you can turn those off. You can turn off the highlighting. You can turn off the comments. Or you can turn off these check boxes. Or you can turn off everything. You can do that. Another thing you can do if you want to, if you've got a display and you want to select certain verses, okay, let's turn off the comments because it's easier to see. Turn off the external links. Okay, say you can also hide certain verses. Like, okay, you just want to talk about the Old Testament and the Book of Mormon. You can select a verse, and it's highlighted in the checkbox, and you can say hide selected. It goes away. So you can just see the ones you're interested in. If you selected a bunch of verses and then you want all unselected, you can just do turn off selected. Or if you selected some verses, you can reverse your selection. Now there's a context menu, which is useful. You have to select a verse and then you right click on it and you get the context menu. The navigation is, say you want to look at the whole verse, say in Song of Solomon 2:4. You say expand to the whole object. So it gives you the entire chapter of Song of Solomon. Now, if you want to go through the Bible verse by or chapter by chapter, there's a menu for that. You go to previous chapter, next chapter. You can do Control P, Control N, which I'm doing now. You can't see that. Or you can use the menu. Whoops, menu. I get too fast here. Okay, there's also a button up here to do the same thing. You go from chapter to chapter. Let's see, there's also in the context menu, okay, to use that portion of the context menu, you don't have to select any verse. Or if you want to, you don't have to select any particular verse for this one either, but you can copy all verses into or paste, or you can create a website with just the ones you've selected. Okay, with the verse, you can do the edit comments, which you've shown you. You can do a Strong's Lookup. What that will do is first you have to right-click on a specific verse, and then you do the Strong's Lookup. And what that will do is it will go through the verse and indicate the Strong's name, which is the original Greek or Hebrew word for every verse, for every word in that verse. Or you can do the same thing. You can select a word and then go down here and do a Strong's Lookup just for that word. Another thing you could do that's handy is you could do word links. You can, okay, down here select a word, and then you can do a word link. And there's where the word wine is used everywhere in the Bible. Let's see. Say the phrase Melchizedek, king of Salem. Oh, not just do. That's okay. Okay, if you could use a mouse or the cursor key. Do a word link. Here's only one verse where it actually phrase the king of Salem. You say, well, I want to find out about Melchizedek, but there's only one verse. So let's search for something else. Like let's try searching for Salem. And there's a lot more. Okay, here we go. Salem. We got a lot more verses. Or Melchizedek. Now you don't want to spell out the word Melchizedek because it's a hard word to spell. So you could just highlight the word and then you do a word link and look up everywhere it's used in the Bible, 28 times. So this is a quicker way of doing a search or doing word links. You can link on any word. It doesn't have to be some special word that's highlighted. And notice also there's a space after Melchizedek. The database doesn't care whether there's a space or not. It doesn't even care if we've got quotation marks or not. As long as it's one word, you get the same result. Okay, so that's some of the more esoteric features. Oh, one more thing. Okay, back here to the profile, you've got queries. It remembers everything you've ever queried, and they're all in this box, this multi-line, what's called a multi-line text box, and you can edit this and then save it. Eventually, these queries start building up, so you probably will want to get rid of a lot of these extraneous queries. But they do build up over time, and you can either save them or delete them as you wish.